Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking into the family,
Hmm.
an African-American organized crime group, mostly active in Newark, New Jersey, running from the 70s up to the mid-90s, roughly.
Yeah, and we're drawing mainly from that New Jersey State Commission of Investigation report, the Afro-Lineal Organized Crime report, plus some other bits and pieces.
Right. And what jumps out immediately, I think, is how the guy in charge, the leader, seemed like, well, almost untouchable, especially early on.
Absolutely. It sets a real stage, makes you wonder how it all worked.
Exactly. So that's kind of our mission for this deep dive. Figure out how the family actually got started, how big it got, what its impact was, and, how it eventually fell apart.
And what that whole story tells us about organized crime itself, maybe.
Yeah, precisely.
And right off the bat, that term, the SCI, uses Afro-Lineal mobs.
Hmm.
It's interesting.
It is, yeah. Makes you think if there were like specific ways these groups were structured, maybe even culturally, beyond just the crime part.
Right. Did that play into how they operated, how they lasted?
Good question. So at the heart of this particular group, the family, was a guy named Akbar Prey. He started it in Newark, early 1970s.
And their main thing, according to the report, was drug trafficking.
Yep. Cocaine and marijuana mostly. And this wasn't like a small street corner thing. It really grew.
No, definitely not small time. And the SCI report puts the family in that wider Afro-lineal mobs context, suggesting it wasn't, unique in that sense.
Okay.
And you mentioned him seeming untouchable. Newark Police Director Claude M. Coleman testified about that. He talked about how hard it was to investigate Prey.
Right. Even though it was common knowledge he was dealing drugs.
Exactly. Coleman specifically cited Prey's wealth and influence, said they were huge roadblocks for any investigation. How does someone get that powerful?
It's kind of staggering. And Coleman also said Prey built the whole organization using fear, intimidation, and violence.
Directed mainly at rivals, right? Other
Yep.
players in the drug trade.
Yeah. So it wasn't just selling, it was about controlling the market, basically, through force. Makes you think about the atmosphere that must have created.
Definitely. And then there's another angle from DEA Special Agent in charge, Ashton.
Okay, what did he add?
His testimony suggested the family actually originated as an offshoot of the New World of Islam.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and that same Afro-Lineal report mentions their early activities weren't just drugs. They apparently did bank robberies.
Bank robberies.
Get this, they supposedly even ran a bank robbery school.
You're kidding. A school.
That's what the report says. It sort of points to a level of, bold organization right from the start, even before the drug trafficking really took off. What do you think about that kind of early portfolio?
A bank robbery school. I mean, the nerve is almost funny, but like you said, it shows structure, planning right out of the gate.
Mm-hmm.
And then think about his name, Akbar Prey, meaning the greatest of the great.
Yeah, quite a name to live up to.
And the report kind of suggests he did, in his own way, by building this, what they called a vast and durable criminal network. The power of a name, maybe? Did it help build that aura?
That's a really interesting thought. Could that name, combined with how he seemed to operate above the law,
Yeah.
have helped him cement loyalty? Or maybe just fear? It's a key part of how these leaders maintain control, isn't it?
Absolutely. And this operation wasn't just stuck in Newark.
No, far from it.
Prey expanded the drug trafficking, started small in Essex County, but then branched out. Ohio, Michigan, New York, even down to southern Florida.
That kind of reach interstate like that needs serious logistics, a
Yeah.
solid network. How did he even build those connections?
Right. And the scale, I mean, the DEA classifications tell a story.
Yeah, talk about that.
At their peak, the family apparently had at least 12 supervisors, mid-level guys, that the DEA classed as Class I violators.
In a Class I cocaine trafficker, just so people understand, that means someone the DEA believes can distribute at least 50 kilos of cocaine
50 kilos.
per month and manage at least 5 people below them.
50 kilos a month per supervisor. That gives you a real sense of the volume they were pushing.
It really does. Huge scale.
And numbers that came out during Prey's federal trial in '89 are just mind-boggling.
What did they say?
DEA witnesses testified he was responsible for moving about 188 kilograms of coke and maybe 544 pounds of marijuana
Wow.
in just a 5-month window in 1987, February to June.
That's incredible volume.
And the estimated gross income annually, millions. This was a major, major criminal enterprise.
So you've got this guy, seems untouchable, running a massive, very profitable operation spanning multiple states.
Yep.
But, well, that kind of success, that kind of profile, it tends to attract serious attention eventually.
Exactly. The story isn't in there. The report says Prey did eventually get incarcerated,
Yeah.
Federal prison,
And
1989,
the sentence.
life. No possibility of parole. They nailed him as the principal administrator of this huge cocaine import and distribution ring. So the law did catch up.
Okay, so the head is gone. What happened to the family then? Director Coleman mentioned this too, right?
He did. He said that, yeah, the group carried on after Prey was locked up, but it became fragmented.
Ah, makes sense.
His old lieutenants started doing their own thing, operating independently, and a lot of them got locked up too, eventually. That central figure, Prey, was gone.
So the power dispersed, maybe infighting started?
Could be. But even from prison, Prey's influence wasn't, like, totally gone.
Really? How so?
Well, DEA Special Agent in charge, Ashton, observed that the organization kept operating just at a much lower and more discreet level.
So quieter, but still functional.
Apparently so.
Mhm.
Same basic structure, kept their customers, their contacts. Ashton even mentioned credible reports that Prey was still overseeing drug deals from inside prison.
Wow. From prison. That shows how deep those roots must have gone. Makes you think how hard it is to truly dismantle something like that.
It really does. Shows their resilience, doesn't it? Even taking out the leader doesn't instantly kill the network.
True. But ultimately, the report concludes that not too long after Prey was arrested and convicted, around 1990, the family just kind of scattered.
Right. It ceased to exist as that cohesive group it once was.
What do you think finally did it in? Just Prey's absence or other factors too? Law enforcement pressure, internal collapse?
Maybe a combination of all those things. So just to sort of wrap up what we've covered, we saw the family get established by Akbar Prey in Newark. Its main business was drugs built on fear and violence.
Then it grew massively. Multi-state operations, huge profit.
Yeah, huge. And despite Prey looking untouchable for a while, he eventually got that life sentence.
Which led to the group fragmenting and ultimately disappearing in its original form.
Right. It's that contract that really hits you, isn't it?
Totally. That initial image of invincibility versus the final outcome, life in prison, it really makes you think about power, especially criminal power. How long can it really last?
Are there always weaknesses, even if they're hidden?
Yeah, even in these seemingly rock-solid organizations, what's the weak point?
It's a powerful thought. And it makes you wonder, naturally, how things might have changed since the family's era, the 70s to the 90s.
Right, with technology, different policing methods.
How has organized crime adapted? Are there lessons from the family's story, their structure, their methods, maybe even their downfall that still apply today?
Do we see echoes of that kind of operation, maybe in different forms in today's world?
It's definitely something to chew on. How do these dynamics play out now? A lot to think about there.